Amelia sat quietly by the window, her fingers wrapped around a warm cup of tea as the evening sun dipped low, casting soft golden shadows across the room, and she found herself lost in thoughts that had been lingering for weeks, memories that surfaced like whispers from the past, reminding her of times she had cherished and moments she had never fully understood. And just as she was sinking deeper into the warmth of nostalgia, a sudden knock at the door startled her, a sound sharp enough to make her heart skip, and she hesitated, glancing toward the hallway with a mix of curiosity and caution, wondering who could be visiting so late, the quiet neighborhood rarely seeing any unexpected guests at this hour. And when she opened the door, she was met with a face she hadn't seen in years, a familiar smile that made her breath hitch slightly, and it was Liam, her neighbor's cousin, a man whose presence had always been calm yet stirring, the kind of person who seemed to leave an invisible mark on those he met. And for a moment Amelia froze, unsure whether to greet him with a smile or let the silence linger, feeling a mixture of excitement, confusion, and something deeper, a rush of emotion she hadn't anticipated, as he looked at her with eyes that seemed to hold 1,000 unspoken words, a warmth that made the room feel suddenly smaller and yet expansive, charged with memories that had been carefully tucked away. And as he shifted slightly, a nervous energy in his posture betrayed the casualness of his greeting. "I hope I'm not disturbing you," he said softly, but Amelia noticed the gentle lilt in his voice, the way it brushed against her like a reminder of everything they had shared long ago, and she found herself inviting him in without hesitation, the old familiarity overriding her initial surprise. And once inside, the air between them seemed to hum with a quiet tension, a subtle awareness that this visit was more than a simple social call. And as they settled in the living room, the fading sunlight highlighting the contours of the room, Amelia felt herself scanning his face, noticing the small changes, the way he had grown, yet retained the essence that had always drawn her attention, and she recalled the afternoons they had spent talking, laughing, and wandering without purpose, a bond that had been forged quietly, deeply, in moments that neither had fully recognized at the time. And now, years later, the same bond seemed to pulse in the air, creating an invisible thread connecting them, and as they sat across from each other, their conversation began cautiously, small talk about the neighborhood, the weather, life's routines, yet beneath every word, there was an undercurrent, a subtle dance of glances, smiles, and pauses, each carrying more weight than the actual sentences, and Amelia could feel her heart responding, a flutter she hadn't felt in a long time, a mixture of anticipation and the bittersweet ache of nostalgia. And as Liam spoke, his words carried the ease of familiarity, yet there was a deliberate softness, a care in every phrase, as if he was testing the waters of a connection that had never truly disappeared. And Amelia responded with her own measured warmth, laughing at the small jokes, sharing updates from her life, but all the while sensing the unsaid, the stories that hung between them, waiting to be released. And the room seemed smaller, cozier, as if time itself had slowed to allow them to revisit the past without intrusion. And she noticed how the fading light caressed his face, highlighting the gentle strength in his features, the way his eyes held a quiet intensity, and she was struck by the realization that she had missed this more than she had known, that the absence had not erased the feelings but only deepened their significance. And as they talked, Amelia found herself drawn into the rhythm of their dialogue, the ebb and flow of conversation that seemed natural yet loaded with emotional resonance, the laughter mingling with the subtle moments of silence that spoke louder than any words. And she remembered the moments of youth when time had seemed infinite, the afternoons and evenings they had shared under the sun or beneath the quiet night sky, and how those memories had shaped a part of her she had tried to keep private, hidden beneath the routines of daily life. And now, with Liam sitting just a few feet away, those memories came rushing back with vivid clarity, filling her chest with warmth, longing, and a touch of sorrow, for time had moved on, yet some connections, some emotions never truly faded, they simply waited for the right moment to resurface. And Amelia felt that moment had arrived, a soft thrill running through her as she realized that this encounter, unexpected and late, held the potential to change the course of the evening, to unlock doors she had left closed for too long. And as the night deepened outside, the faint glow of the streetlights spilling into the room, Amelia and Liam continued their conversation, the gentle cadence of voices blending with the quiet ticking of the clock, the ordinary yet intimate sounds creating a cocoon around them. And she noticed the subtle gestures, the way he leaned forward slightly, the way his eyes lingered for just a moment too long, the way a smile could suddenly feel like an invitation. and each of these moments added layers to her emotions, a mixture of curiosity, affection, and something tenderly romantic that made her pulse quicken. And she realized that this visit was not just a casual drop-in but a turning point, a chance to revisit the past with the clarity of the present, to feel once more the intensity of connection that had been part of her life and heart all along. And just as she began to anticipate what might come next, the air seemed to shift, a subtle pause as if the room itself held its breath, and Amelia knew that what started as a simple knock at the door had opened more than just a conversation. It had opened a chapter of memories, emotions, and possibilities she had thought she had outgrown, and in that quiet, golden-lit living room, the stage was set for a journey neither of them fully understood yet, a journey of rediscovery, longing, and the gentle rekindling of feelings that had always lingered just beneath the surface. And as the night stretched on, the first part of their encounter closed softly, leaving Amelia with a fluttering heart and a mind racing with anticipation, knowing that this unexpected visit from her neighbor's cousin had begun to unravel forgotten threads of her past, threads woven with laughter, care, and quiet intimacy, and she wondered silently what the next moments would bring, the room still glowing with the memory of his smile, the echo of his voice, and the undeniable pull of a connection that time had never truly erased, a connection that now demanded attention and courage. And as she sipped the last of her tea, the clock ticking steadily, Amelia felt a mixture of excitement and gentle trepidation, knowing that the night had only just begun, and with Liam sitting across from her, every unspoken word carried weight, every glance held meaning, and the air between them shimmered with possibility, the first chapter of a story neither had expected but both were ready to explore. A story of remembered feelings, quiet romance, and emotional discovery that promised to change the rhythm of their lives, beginning with a simple, late-night knock that had unlocked a door Amelia thought she had closed long ago. The evening grew quieter outside, the soft hum of distant cars and the occasional rustle of leaves the only sounds breaking the calm, and inside, Amelia and Liam sat facing each other, the air thick with anticipation and memories, their conversation starting with casual words about everyday life, neighbors, work, and small routines, but gradually it slipped into shared recollections, the kind that make hearts ache and swell at the same time. And as Liam spoke, he laughed gently at a story from their childhood walks in the park, the way they had once spent entire afternoons watching the sunset, sharing dreams and secrets they thought no one else could understand, and Amelia felt the warmth of nostalgia rise like a tide, her chest tightening as she remembered the simplicity of those moments, the unspoken understanding that had always existed between them, the laughter, the quiet glances, the way the world seemed softer when they were together, and she realized how much she had missed that connection, the effortless bond that had faded with time but never disappeared entirely. And as she responded with her own memories, her voice carried a tremor she didn't expect, a mix of longing and joy, and Liam's eyes softened, holding hers for a moment too long, a look that spoke of unvoiced emotions, a mixture of regret and desire to hold on to what they had once known. And in that glance, Amelia felt a spark ignite, a gentle flame that had never truly gone out, only waiting for the right moment to reappear. And the room seemed smaller now, warmer, charged with intimacy, the soft glow of the lamp casting golden shadows across the walls, highlighting the contours of their faces and the subtle changes that years had brought. Yet somehow, those years had not diminished the connection, only made it more poignant, and Liam leaned back slightly, recounting a memory of a rainy afternoon when they had shared an umbrella, laughing as they tried to keep dry while stepping through puddles, the sound of the rain blending with their laughter in her mind as if it had happened yesterday, and Amelia could almost feel the drops on her skin, remember the smell of wet earth, and the way his hand had brushed hers, an innocent touch that had left a lasting impression, a memory that now resurfaced with a sharp pang of both longing and tenderness. And as their conversation continued, they explored moments they had shared without realizing their significance at the time, small acts of kindness, quiet smiles, the comfort of silence that only two people deeply connected can share. And Amelia noticed how Liam's tone shifted, softening, revealing layers of vulnerability she had never seen before, and in that vulnerability, she saw a reflection of her own feelings, the hidden emotions she had tried to push aside, the regrets of paths not taken, choices made, and the yearning for a closeness that life had denied them for so long. And as they spoke, Amelia felt herself drawn deeper into the narrative of their past, each story, each memory building an invisible bridge between them, a bridge made of laughter, longing, and unspoken understanding, and she realized that the comfort she felt in his presence was more than nostalgia. It was a recognition that some bonds cannot be broken, only tested by time and circumstance, and Liam's voice grew softer as he shared the moments he had cherished, the times he had thought of her, remembered her smile, wondered about her life and happiness, and Amelia's heart responded with a mixture of surprise and emotion. The awareness that she too had thought of him often, missed the quiet companionship, the emotional intimacy that had been there without label or expectation, and now, sitting together in the gentle glow of the room, it all came rushing back with an intensity she hadn't anticipated, a flood of feelings that made her pulse quicken and her mind whirl with what-ifs and could-have-beens, and as Liam reached for his tea, his fingers brushing hers, the touch was electric yet tender, a silent reminder that connection is not always defined by words alone, and Amelia felt her chest tighten as she realized how much she had longed for that touch, that presence, even without fully admitting it to herself and outside. The moon had risen higher, casting silver light through the window, illuminating the room and making the shadows dance like memories themselves, and in that silver glow, their faces seemed closer, their gazes more intimate, the unspoken tension building with every shared smile, every pause in conversation that allowed emotion to speak louder than language. And Amelia noticed a change in Liam, a hesitance mingled with longing, the way his eyes sometimes darted away, only to return with a gentle intensity that made her heart skip, and she wondered what thoughts weighed on him, what memories he had carried silently for all these years, unshared but deeply felt, and as he spoke again, recounting a night when they had stayed up talking about dreams, fears, and the future, Amelia was transported back to that time, the clarity of memory blending with the present, making the room feel like a sanctuary where time held no meaning, and she could feel herself being drawn into the past and the present at once, a simultaneous experience of what was and what could have been, and Liam's voice trembled slightly as he admitted how much he had missed their conversations, the ease of companionship, the rare comfort of feeling completely understood, and Amelia's throat tightened as she realized she had felt the same, the longing she had buried now surfacing with vivid clarity, and in that moment the connection between them deepened, more palpable, more real, the air around them almost vibrating with emotion, with shared history, with the recognition that some people leave marks that never fade, only grow stronger with distance and time, and as they leaned back, a comfortable silence fell, filled with the resonance of everything spoken and everything left unsaid, and Amelia could feel the pull of the moment, the magnetic force of familiarity, longing, and subtle attraction that had always existed beneath the surface, waiting for the right evening, the right presence to awaken it, and as Liam looked out the window at the quiet street, then back at her, his expression soft, contemplative, a faint shadow of sadness mingling with warmth, Amelia realized that this night had opened doors that had remained closed for too long, doors of memory, emotion, and perhaps even possibilities that neither had dared to imagine, and she felt her heart lift and ache simultaneously, knowing that the past and present had collided in a way that could not be ignored, that their connection, long dormant, had now resurfaced with gentle insistence, and as the clock ticked softly in the background, she noticed the small gestures, the subtle movements, the quiet attentiveness in Liam's eyes, the way he smiled at a shared joke, the way his hand hovered briefly near hers before retreating, all of it layering the evening with emotional tension and tender intimacy, and Amelia knew that tonight was more than just a casual conversation, it was a reckoning of feelings, an acknowledgement of connection, a rekindling of a bond that life had tested but not destroyed, and as the moonlight bathed them in silver, she felt a warmth spread through her chest, a recognition that some relationships are timeless, that some emotions wait patiently to be rediscovered, and that what began as casual memories now carried the weight of longing, desire, and the promise of deeper understanding. And as Liam shared a story from a summer years ago, the memory of a picnic by the lake, the laughter, the innocent teasing, the gentle brush of hands, Amelia felt tears prick the corners of her eyes, the bittersweet mix of joy and melancholy flooding her senses, and she realized that she had carried these feelings quietly, unknowingly, letting them reside in the recesses of her heart until tonight, until this moment, until Liam's presence reminded her of everything she had missed. And as their conversation wound through hours of memory, laughter, and quiet reflection, the emotional intimacy grew. The room pulsed with a warmth that neither could fully articulate, a gentle romantic tension that hovered like a soft breeze, teasing, inviting, yet respectful, and Amelia found herself leaning in slightly, listening with rapt attention, savoring every detail, every tone, every pause that spoke volumes, and Liam's subtle gestures, the way his gaze lingered, the small sighs and smiles, all painted a picture of emotions long held but never spoken. And as the night deepened, the outside world fading into darkness, Amelia realized that these memories, these stories, were not just recollections but bridges, connecting hearts that had never truly been apart, and she felt a quiet thrill, a sense of hope, and a whisper of something tender yet powerful stirring between them, a feeling that would carry forward, shaping the night, and the moments yet to come. And as Liam finally paused, his eyes meeting hers with unspoken understanding, Amelia knew that this part of the evening was just the beginning, that the memories they had shared were unlocking something new, something gentle, emotional, and profoundly intimate, a promise that the heart remembers, even when the mind forgets, and that some visits, some conversations, some moments in life, arrive precisely when they are needed, to remind us of who we are, what we feel, and how deeply we can connect. And as they both sat in the soft silver light, enveloped in the warmth of shared memories and subtle desire, Amelia felt the tender pull of anticipation, knowing that the story of tonight was far from over, and that Liam's visit had opened a door she could not close, a door to emotion, reflection, and the rediscovery of feelings that had always been quietly waiting, a gentle romantic journey that promised to unfold in ways neither had imagined, yet both were ready to explore together, heart by heart, memory by memory, moment by moment. The room felt warmer as the night deepened, the faint glow of the lamp casting soft light on Amelia and Liam, their conversation having evolved from memories of the past to the quiet acknowledgement of feelings that had lingered for years. And as Liam leaned back, he hesitated for a moment, his gaze drifting toward the window before returning to meet Amelia's eyes, a mixture of vulnerability, longing, and unspoken emotion reflecting in his expression, and Amelia felt her chest tighten, her heartbeat quickening with the realization that what they shared was more than nostalgia. It was a connection that had never truly faded, only been waiting for the right moment to be recognized. And as Liam spoke, his voice low and careful, he admitted to thoughts he had carried silently, regrets and reflections on the moments they had lost and the choices that had separated them. And Amelia listened intently, her mind and heart intertwined with every word, feeling a wave of understanding, compassion, and tender longing wash over her. The subtle ache of missed opportunities now mingling with the warmth of renewed closeness. And as he continued, describing how he had often wondered about her life, her happiness, and the small details she may have overlooked, Amelia felt a lump rise in her throat, touched by the sincerity and depth of his feelings, realizing that the bond they had shared as young friends had transformed into something deeper, richer, and more emotionally resonant than either had anticipated. And in that moment, the room seemed suspended in time, a cocoon of intimacy where only the two of them existed, a sanctuary where past and present collided beautifully, the air between them charged with a gentle tension, a magnetic pull that neither could deny. And as Amelia responded, her words were heartfelt yet measured, reflecting her own hidden emotions, her own quiet longing, and the gratitude for this unexpected reunion. And Liam's eyes softened, a faint smile playing on his lips as he recognized the mirrored feelings in her, the unspoken acknowledgement that they had both carried something precious across the years. And the conversation deepened, moving from past memories to current emotions, hopes and fears, the exchange becoming a delicate dance of honesty, vulnerability, and subtle affection, each pause, each glance, each small gesture amplifying the intimacy between them. And Amelia felt a strange mixture of exhilaration and nervousness, aware that this night was shifting the foundation of their relationship, transforming friendship and familiarity into something tenderly romantic, emotionally charged, and profoundly moving. And Liam's hand brushed against hers briefly, the touch lingering just long enough to send a shiver through her, a gentle reminder that connection is often felt more in actions than in words. And Amelia's heart responded with a warmth she had not realized she had missed so deeply, the recognition that these feelings had never truly left her, only been dormant, waiting for a moment like this to resurface. And as they leaned slightly closer, their conversation slowed into comfortable silences, filled with the resonance of shared understanding and the electric tension of emotion, the kind that makes hearts race and minds wander. And Amelia found herself thinking of all the times she had imagined this moment, the longing she had buried in the quiet corners of her heart now coming to life in a way that was gentle, respectful, yet intensely intimate, and Liam's gaze held hers with a softness that made words unnecessary, every look conveying thoughtfulness, desire, and a promise of emotional closeness that transcended the years apart. And as the night progressed, they spoke of what might have been, the paths life had forced them to take, the choices that had pulled them apart, and the unforeseen beauty of being brought together again. Realizing that some connections are resilient, patient, and deeply rooted, surviving distance and time until the moment is right, and Amelia felt tears prick the corners of her eyes, not from sadness but from the bittersweet awareness that love and deep emotional bonds are never lost, only waiting for rediscovery. And Liam's gentle voice narrated memories of small gestures, quiet care, and thoughtful attentiveness, moments he had held onto in solitude, his recollections filling Amelia's heart with warmth, nostalgia, and a soft ache for what could have been, and in response, she shared her own memories, carefully selecting words that reflected her emotions, the quiet longing, the unspoken feelings, and the hope that perhaps tonight marked a new beginning, a chance to reconnect with honesty, vulnerability, and shared emotion. And as they continued, their conversation meandered between laughter, reflection, tender confessions, and gentle teasing, the ebb and flow creating a rhythm that felt natural, soothing, and exhilarating all at once. And Amelia noticed the subtle cues, the way Liam's eyes lingered, the slight smile that seemed to reach his eyes before it faded into thoughtfulness, the way he adjusted his posture as if measuring his words and actions carefully, all of it adding layers to their connection, a delicate mixture of emotional intimacy and romantic tension. And as she observed him, she realized the depth of her feelings, the intensity of her attraction, not just to his presence but to the familiarity, trust, and emotional resonance they shared. And Liam's voice softened further, revealing the quiet hope that perhaps they could navigate these emotions together, exploring what had once been left unspoken. And Amelia felt a surge of courage mingled with vulnerability, knowing that she too wanted to embrace this chance, this moment, to allow herself to feel fully without hesitation or fear. And as the night wore on, the room seemed cocooned in a private bubble, the rest of the world fading away, leaving only the two of them, memories interwoven with present emotions, laughter tempered with nostalgia, and an undeniable pull toward closeness. And Amelia realized that the hesitation she had once felt, the fear of revisiting old emotions, had melted into anticipation, a desire to embrace the possibilities that this reunion offered. And Liam's subtle gestures, the way he shifted slightly closer, the gentleness of his tone, the warmth in his smile, reinforced the unspoken promise of emotional connection, mutual understanding, and perhaps even the start of something new, tender, and romantic. And as he finally rose to leave, there was a quiet pause, a moment suspended in time where both of them lingered at the edge of goodbye, neither wanting to break the fragile intimacy that had developed. And Liam's eyes met Amelia's with a mixture of regret for the parting and hope for the future, and she felt her heart constrict and expand simultaneously, knowing that the night had changed everything, that their encounter had reignited emotions that had been waiting patiently, and that the story of their connection was far from over, only beginning a new chapter, one filled with emotional honesty, subtle romance, shared history, and the gentle exploration of feelings that had been nurtured quietly over the years. And as the door closed softly behind him, Amelia stood in the stillness of the room, the soft glow of the lamp and the moonlight painting her in silver, reflecting on the depth of the evening, the warmth of rediscovered connection, and the realization that some memories are never truly gone. They simply wait for the right time, the right person, and the right moment to return. And she smiled quietly to herself, her heart still fluttering, filled with hope, longing, and the quiet certainty that Liam's late-night visit had opened doors to possibilities she had longed for without knowing it, a promise of emotional closeness, tender romance, and heartfelt discovery. And as she sat back, the echo of his laughter and the lingering warmth of his presence surrounded her like a gentle embrace, a reminder that some connections endure, some emotions survive, and some hearts remember the touch, the laughter, and the intimacy of someone special, no matter the time or distance. And that tonight was proof that even in the quietest hours, life has a way of bringing people together, reconnecting souls and awakening feelings that make the heart beat faster, the mind linger, and the soul feel alive. And Amelia knew with a certainty that went beyond words that their story, though paused for years, had now resumed, tender, gentle, emotional, and deeply romantic. ready to unfold in ways that neither could have anticipated, yet both were ready to embrace moment by moment, memory by memory, heartbeat by heartbeat, in the quiet glow of a night that would never truly be forgotten.